good morning, good morning. How's everyone? Show me some. Okay, I can see a few people who are excited to be up on a Sunday morning. And I can see a few who have really stretched to get up on a Sunday morning. And there are some who are still, I think, in need of a very strong cup of coffee. So wake up, guys, because today is a super fabulous day. And I want to share something with you. I'm not a morning person. And so getting up on Sunday morning was always tough. And sometimes still feels a little tough. But the only thing that gets me up is because I know that what I'm going to get at the PDT is something that will push me through the week, that will help me through the week and will give me that energy. It's like फोन को चार्ज पे लगाते हैं ना रात को, तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है संडे को ऐसा फुल चार्जिंग मिलता है, डायरेक्शन मिलता है. I get direction, I get clarity, I get energy, and it just sets the tone for the rest of the week. So I'm always, I can't imagine not starting my Sunday like this. So I hope you're all excited because what you have in store today is beyond phenomenal. I can't even begin to tell you. I'm usually not nervous on camera because I've spent many years in front of the camera, but today I'm feeling a little nervous because I'm here to introduce somebody who I look up to and someone who's been helping me, who helped me learn the business from day one and continues to do so. But before I invite him, some ground rules. And on Zoom, when we used to do physical PDTs, our ground rule was to switch our phones off and be fully focused. On Zoom, that ground rule has changed a little, which is to put on your videos because that's the only way you can be fully focused. The minute your video is off, we're humans. What will happen is we'll start checking our phones or we'll get distracted. The only way that you can be fully focused is to put the video on, and it's not for the speaker, it's for yourself. Because when you're fully focused and you're listening, you will learn. Honestly, that's the truth. There is no denying that. So it's really, really important that you guys are here because what you're going to get today is going to help you not only understand the business better, but do the business better, see growth, see success, right? So for those of you who have bandwidth issues or have some reason why you're not able to come online, I can't debate that. But honestly, if you want to learn completely, you want to learn fully, then you must keep your videos on, right? Because it's the only way you will remain focused and you will get the best out of what is being given out today, what you will hear today. Because eventually, it's how we listen and how we learn. If you're sitting here in seeking mode, you're seeking to get the answers, you're seeking to learn, you will get a lot, right? Secondly, I want you all to give trespass to the speaker. What do I mean by trespass? Those who are new, allow the speaker to say what you need to hear. We all want to hear good things, no? Like we always want our teachers to say, this is my favorite student. We all want our parents to say, oh, okay, you're doing so well, I'm proud of you. We want our friends to say, he's my favorite friend. But we want our uplines actually to tell us what we need to hear. We may want to hear, nice, very nice, you're working very hard, you're very good. But we sometimes need our uplines to tell us what we need. What do I need to do to grow forward? What do I need? So you have to give trespass to the speaker so that he can tell you what you need to hear. You may want to hear a lot of things, but there are a few things we need to hear to grow, to move. So I'll give trespass to the speaker, right? And please don't judge the speaker. While with the person coming today, you can try and judge, very hard to judge. But when we say don't judge the speaker, what it means is it's not about, how he looks or what, how they speak. It's about leave all of that aside. Just focus on the content. Focus on what is coming to you. कैसे बोल रहे हैं, कैसे दिखते हैं, वो important नहीं है. Important है आपको क्या message मिल रहा है, right? And the most important ground rule for the day, right, which is empty your cup. Empty your cup. What does it mean? Many of you know what it means. It's our Sunday morning ritual. But for people who have just joined us or are here, here for the first time, all I want to say is that, watch the video that would have been given to you called Empty Your Cup. It's a philosophy. What it means is that you can only use a cup if it's empty. If the cup is already full, you can't put anything more in it. Right? So our cups, which are our minds, are usually filled with so many things that we're not always in a position to receive more. So I want you to hold out your virtual cups. It's an exercise. And while it might seem childish to a few of you, I promise you it is such a powerful activity. So just follow my lead. So hold out your virtual cups and close your eyes, and from your mind, just empty everything that is, going on, because our minds are like this treadmill that is running. So whatever is running, just empty it. I had a good week. I had a bad week. I have plans today. I need to align plans this week. I've had an argument with somebody at home. My car needs to go for servicing. Whatever is going on in your mind, good, bad, the busyness of your mind, just empty it out. Just put it in your cup and take a deep breath and empty it. Empty whatever you've taken out, right? If you don't feel lighter, do me a favor, close your eyes. All of you, close your eyes. Take a deep breath again. Breathe in and breathe out. And breathe in again and breathe out again. And now, with a fresh mind, with a calm mind, with an open mind, I want you to open your eyes and listen to me as I tell you about the person who's going to come and speak today. So, many of you have heard him before. Some of you probably have also interacted with him. Some of you have worked with him. So the first time I interacted with the person, he's my upline. The first time I interacted with him was actually on an email, because when I had started the business, I'd got a mail saying, welcome to the journey, and I'd got my details, etc. And I wrote back because there were a few people marked on the mail. I said, reply all. And I said, very excited, happy to be here and all of that. And, he replied back and he said, welcome to have you on board. And his signature used to say, a lot can happen over a cup of coffee. A lot can happen over a cup of coffee. And I thought that was very exciting because that's what our business is, I mean, now we have our own coffees on Zoom, but eventually our business happens over a cup of tea or coffee, right? So when I heard that, I said, yeah, that's so true. So I said, looking forward to lots of coffee and, and that's how I first interacted with him. And then when I came to know about, his background, his journey, I was very, very, not just impressed, but, I found it helped me to understand the business better. It even helped me to take the business more seriously, because if someone like him was doing this business, and this is like in the first few weeks of the business, right? So I didn't know too much. And when I got to know about this person, I realized that, look at the person with this kind of a corporate background, this kind of a successful person is taking this business seriously. There must be something to it. So for those of you who don't know, he's worked across industries, and I think that's one of his biggest strengths. He's worked in print media, he has worked in advertising, he has worked in banking, he has worked in event management. So when you have someone with that kind of a cross industry experience, their understanding of business is just immense, right? And he's created successful campaigns, and he's worked with multiple clients across the globe and from different industries, from automobile to banking, to FMCG. So he's worked across categories, he's worked across industries, and he's worked with clients who are, who've been in different genres or different industries. So obviously the kind of experience he has had and the kind of understanding of business that he has is immense. And I think that's what prompted him to move from being a jobby, so to speak, to get into his own business, right? Because he's, like I said, he started from print to advertising to banking. He was at Citibank, and he was heading a national role for their assets division in Citibank, is doing phenomenally well. And eventually he realized, like I said, because he understood the runnings of business so well, he started his own business. He started his own event management company. And it was a small company when they started, but within 2 years, he took it to almost an 18 crore turnover at a time in around 2008 or 9, at a time when, the industry was going through a recession. To have built that kind of a turnover during a recessionary phase is phenomenal. It's beyond phenomenal. And it wasn't just that, it was not just the turnover, just the whole business he managed, and he scaled it up. They went from a small office to multi-city offices, from a handful of employees to almost 100 employees across cities, Delhi, Bangalore, Bombay. And his ability to understand business, I think, started there. And he was already extremely successful when this business came into his life. The reason he's here today is not only because of all his previous experiences, but largely because of his experience in our business. And that is why he is here today as a speaker. Because in the last 10 years of doing, the business, and the last years of doing QNET, he's created tremendous successes. He has helped many people grow, evolve, learn. He himself, has the kind of experience that one can only, we can learn from whatever he brings to the table. And he has markets across the globe. He has markets in multiple countries. And some countries he's not even traveled to, but he has markets there. That's the power of our business. And that's the power of technology and our business put together, makes it truly a global business. And he has markets all over the globe. And for me personally, he is one of the fairest people I know. And he is one of the most large-hearted people I know. It doesn't matter where you're from, you ask him for help and he will give you help, and he will put he will always give his heart, and he'll always do what is right. And if you go to him with a conflicting question in our business, sometimes, yes, should I do this, should I do that, and he will always give you advice that has a far-sightedness to it. He is the giraffe, truly, for me, in my business. He is the giraffe. We say that we might be cheetahs running very fast, but your uplines are giraffes. They can see, are you running into a cliff, or are you running in the right direction? And he truly is that giraffe, because he can see things beyond what is what is visible to us. And he's one of the calmest people I know. I've never seen him lose his temper. But he's also a lot of fun. He's got a wicked sense of humor. Some people take time to understand it, but he has a wicked sense of humor. You will really enjoy hearing him today. And honestly, just with an open heart, listen to everything he says, because I promise you, he will help you shift some of your furniture in your brain. He will give you perspectives that you may not have thought of. And so with an open mind, listen, take notes even if you want to, because whatever you're going to get today is going to help you grow, is going to help you move your business forward. So I won't take up any more time. We're already a few minutes behind. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please help me welcome my upline, somebody I look up to and who helps me every day and is going to help you today. So please make some noise, virtual noise. I know you can't unmute yourselves, but please help me welcome the one and only Mohit Kara.
This is how I roll. Animal print pants out control.
Hi, I can see you moving into energy.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much, Tanvi, for that very, very flattering introduction. Um, like she said, as you can see, I am one of the fairest people around. So great. So how are you guys doing this fantastic Sunday morning? I can see some very, very excited faces, and I can see some people who've just barely woken up, and see, that's the magic of Zoom. Irrespective of the fact, like typically otherwise on a Sunday morning we would get ready, get up, get ready, have a shower. I hope so, and go for system. But Zoom, even at 10:28, you wake up. Okay. You just change your shirt, your t-shirt and sit and you're ready. Yeah? And most people will not be able to make out what you are, like you can't make out what I'm wearing under my jacket, right? And that's the magic of Zoom. It has its own advantages. But the good thing is I can see there are some people who really got ready and come here and are going to take this seriously. So great, so very happy to be here again, and hopefully over the next hour or so we will have some fun, and we'll also hopefully take something back that we need. Okay, so before we begin, let me tell you a little bit about myself, while Tanvi shared a lot about what I have done in life a little bit, but let me tell you a little bit about where I come from, who am I. So I actually come from a typical middle class background. My dad was in the army, and for the initial part of my life we kept moving around all over the country. Every 2 years, 3 years he would get transferred, and we've gone to some I've stayed in exotic places, So in his last posting, he was posted in a place called Aizawl. So I don't even know how many people know Aizawl. It's right in the northeast in a state called Mizoram. In fact, when he got posted there, it was not even a state; it was a union territory. It became a state while we were, there. And it's a beautiful country. When I say beautiful country, it's part of India, but it's a beautiful landscape. When I had to go to school there, we had to actually climb a mountain because that was the only decent school in Aizawl. So we actually had to climb a mountain. So our army truck would, so there is a 1 ton and a 3 ton. So those of you who are familiar with Fauji vehicles, so those big vehicles, which carry troops. So we were also carried in those vehicles to a point, and they dropped us, in a 1 ton. And from there, we had to actually climb a hill for about 1.5 kilometers and then reach school. So that was my initial schooling. And then one fine day, my dad decided that, so it's me and my elder brother, so 2 children in the family. And one fine day, he decided that, this is not the way my children should get educated. They should get a proper education. So we should settle down somewhere. So after about almost 30 years of serving in the army, he quit the army, and we all moved to this brilliant city called Delhi, in India, and we settled here. And then from here, that's where I lived most of my life then, school, college, post-grad, and as I told you, I have an elder brother, and I was always very fascinated by the Fauji life. तो मतलब वो बचपन से ही वो मेरा एक ही aim था कि फौज में जाना है. And I never thought of any other career, in life. So it was only one clear aim in my life कि मैं को तो फौज में जाना है. I have to follow in my father's, footsteps. And that was it. So everything I did with that one perspective, in mind. And then I had an elder brother, and he was about 3 years, still is actually 3 years elder to me. After class 12, so he always wanted to be an engineer. I don't know whether he wanted to be an engineer or उन दिनों वही होते थे, 2 प्रोफेशन होते थे, या तो डॉक्टर बन जाओ या इंजीनियर बन जाओ. So I think he chose, engineering as one of the better better of the 2 devils. So I think he chose engineering too. And मैं बचपन always, because मेरा clear था कि मेरे को फौज में जाना है, तो पढ़ाई लिखाई में कोई खास इंटरेस्ट था नहीं. I was always the outdoor types. My brother was always the studious type. बहुत मार पड़ती थी मेरे को, बचपन में. And there was always that comparison. अपने भाई को देखो. He was always like the top 3 in the class. I was also top 3 in the class, but from the bottom. So there was always the the comparison. अपने भाई को देखो. My brother used to sometimes tell me, यार और कुछ नहीं तो मेरे लिए थोड़ी सी पढ़ाई कर ले. छोड़, मैंने क्या करना है पढ़ाई करके, मैंने तो फौज में जाना है. तो anyways, तो वो चलते रहा. And then he gave his class 12 board exams and got through a few engineering colleges. And there was one college in Pune which he was going to join. And he and my father traveled to Pune to complete the formalities, in that college, admission formalities and all that. But because we come from a Fauji family, there is the tradition ki wo, NDA, what is NDA? National Defense Academy, that's where you start if you have to enter the armed forces. That's where you start from. So there is an entrance exam that happens. So every Fauji kid gives the NDA exam, come what may. Okay, whether you want to join or you don't want to join, you still have to give the NDA exam. So my brother had also given the exam and had actually cleared that also. So while they were in Pune, they went, finished the admission formalities there, and they had a little bit of time. I think they had one more day before they were going to come back, to Delhi. So my father, being a Fauji, he said, "Chalo tumko main NDA दिखा के लाता हूँ कि कैसा होता है." So he took my brother to NDA, and that was it. And NDA, if any of you had been there, or if you haven't been there, after this, Google it. I'm sure there are lots of images available on the internet. It's a very, very beautiful campus. It's huge. but it's a very, very beautiful, campus. And my brother went there, and for some reason he fell in love with the campus and told my father, I want to join here, because he had already cleared the exam. तो उसने बोला मेरे को तो यहीं आना है. And my father being Fauji, so nothing would give him more happiness. बेटा फौज में जा रहा है. So and they came back to Delhi, and that big announcement happened in the house that Samir, who's my brother, is going to join the NDA and not the engineering college. And मैंने बोला हैं मेरा क्या होगा, because I was supposed to do that. So anyway, so he went, he joined the NDA. By the time he was passing out was when my 12th class was happening. And as I said, I had no other intention of doing anything else except, join the force. So at one level, I was very happy that I would get a lot of tips, from my brother, because he would already have passed out by the time I would join, and how to, go through those 3 years in India. While at one level, I was very happy, but there was something that was always, back of the mind, troubling me, ki possible hua ki nahi. So anyway, so after 12th, I gave, so in any case, so I was also given ki bhai NDA to jana hi hai, but saath mein you still have to choose a stream, right, in your class 11. So I obviously chose non-medical, and had no intention of doing any engineering or anything. So while I gave, all the engineering exams and all that, but the sole focus was, the NDA exam. So I gave that, I cleared that. Then I went for my SSB interview after that, cleared that. And I was all set to go to, NDA and follow in my dad and brother's, footsteps. So I was getting all set, and then one day, just around the time when, there were just some few formalities left to complete, my mother called me and made me sit down and said, just 4 words, कि बेटा तू भी चला जाएगा क्या? So, and that was it, because my mother said कि देखो 2 ही बेटे हैं, एक तो चला गया. You know how it is in the forge. Once you have gone, you would never come back home. And I say never come back home in the sense you're never at home, because you'll keep getting posted all over and all that. So I realized, my mother was feeling कि अब दोनों बेटे चले जाएंगे तो हमारा क्या होगा and all that. So she said, बेटा तू भी चला जाएगा. And that was it. And suddenly, so then I made the decision. I said कि somebody needs to be here, and with my parents. And I decided not to. The big question was, what would I do? Because I had never thought of doing anything else. I had never taken my engineering exams seriously. I had no clue about, like when you're in class 12 or 11, you start thinking of college and, where you want to be and all those things, and you start doing tuitions and extra classes and stuff like that. I had done nothing of that, because I knew, when my friends would be having discussions like that, I would actually leave from there. I'm like, यार, ये सब बात मेरे साथ कोई लेना देना ही नहीं है. And so I had no clue. Suddenly I have done my class 12, okay, all set to join, the army. And now suddenly that option is gone, and I am clueless in terms of what I want to do in life. So anyways, as they say कि जो होता है अच्छे के लिए होता है, things tend to, take its own course. So while I had given a lot of engineering exams, I cleared none of them, except one, one Kurukshetra University I had cleared. And except for that, but I had absolutely no intention of giving. How many engineers here? Whoa. I think we should have a PDT for engineers separately. It's a totally different mindset, right? So I had no intention of going for 4 years, ghisoing in an engineering college. I had heard some horror stories already from some of my seniors, who were friends who had gone to engineering. So I had no intention. Thankfully, I had cleared one more entrance exam in this college, Delhi University, which offered a bachelor's in management. So it was the only college in India that offered, a degree program in bachelor's in management. So I joined that eventually, and did my Did my bachelor's in management, BBS as it was called. And that was where really, the first time the concept of business started, because it was Bachelor of Business Studies. The course was called Bachelor of Business Studies. And so the first time I got introduced to this whole concept of business. Till then, coming from, a service class background, nobody in my family had actually ever done business except for my mother's side. My mother's side, everybody was businessmen, but they were more like, retailers, so they were in the clothing trade. So वो देखा था, but that was वो दुकान थी basically, so big shopkeepers, but shopkeepers eventually. So that was business, of course. So, but as the concept of business and all these things that we study in management. So first time I actually got exposed and started understanding a little bit whatever you understand in business school. Not that they tell you too much about business in business school. They teach actually, and then I did my post graduation and I did my MBA. And one thing I realized that so MBA is Masters of Business Administration. Okay, so one thing I realized that in those 4-5 years of studying business administration and business studies, they taught a lot of things except business. बहुत कुछ पढ़ाते हैं वो लोग वहाँ पे सब, operations management, economics, and I don't know what all, but they rarely tell you anything about business. So I realized that eventually what they were training us to do, I didn't realize it back then. Back then it was all fun. You can imagine, 18, 20, 21-year-olds in college, suddenly a lot of freedom. And coming from a Fauji background where, my dad is typical Fauji, very, very strict in terms of, so all through my school days, the lights out at 9:30. There was no option. All through my school days, I've never seen 10 o'clock on the, जो घर पे घड़ी होती है ना, मैंने कभी 10 बजे नहीं देखा है रात में उसमें. Because 9:30 lights out, कुछ भी हो जाए, irrespective of whatever is happening in the world, 9:30 the kids will sleep. So came from that kind of background. Now suddenly in college, a lot of freedom, so a lot of fun, a lot of new friends, a lot of things to do, some of which I cannot tell you, kind of things we did in college. So anyway, so it was a lot of fun, but thankfully I had a few very, very good people from the industry, especially in my MBA. So we had a lot of visiting faculty, in our MBA, and those were people who were actually working in various, industries. So the kind of learnings they gave, thankfully, were a lot more than just what you would get in a typical management college. But at the end of the day, a few years down the line, I realized those 4-5 years of studying business management was more to make me a very, very good employee. And that's what I became, so I started my career with, a company called Times of India, selling space, as they call it. So when I say selling space, we're not selling anything out of the planet, but space in the newspaper, so every centimeter in the newspaper is precious. So that is what I used to sell. That's how I started my career, and did that for about 6 months and got extremely bored, because in those days, I think even today, Times of India was one of the biggest newsprint, news media houses that was there, and we didn't actually have to sell. So my job, in my first job, now imagine this, my first job was actually, so I had got a set of clients from the company whom I had to manage, and clients were basically advertising or media agencies. So my job really was to tell them कि आज आपका ad नहीं लगेगा पेपर में, आपका ad परसों लगेगा. That was my sole job, कि मैं अपने जितने भी मेरे clients थे, because you understand, newspaper has limited space. They also have to print some news, okay, which today if you open the newspaper you realize is lesser than what the ad space takes up, and it was the same back then also, but they still have to print some news. So anyways, so my only job was to tell people कि आज नहीं लगेगा आपका ad, परसों लगेगा, पेज 3 पे नहीं लगेगा, पेज 6 पे लगेगा. And that was the only thing that I had to do. and I became very good at that. But I also realized I was getting extremely bored because कुछ करने को ही नहीं था. And you understand, this job takes about 2 hours in a day max. So I used to reach office at 1:30 in the afternoon, sometimes 1 o'clock if I got up early. So I used to reach office 1:30, straight go for lunch. Lunch would take about an hour, and then finally go and start work. And by about 5:30, it was all done, and that was it. And I realized that this cannot be the building block to a kind of career that I was imagining for myself, because I realized I was getting more and more lazy. And in your first job, you have all these visions ki main ye karunga. When you get into your job, you want to change the world. So I had gone there like that, I will change the world. And then suddenly all I was doing was ad aaj nahi lagega bhai sahab, parso. So ऐसे start हुआ job. So I was getting extremely bored. Thankfully, I got a call from somebody whom I had done an internship with in a company during my MBA in an advertising agency. And they called and they said that we are looking for some people. Why don't you come and give an interview? So I went the same day. They called me at about 11 a.m. in the morning. Okay, and like I told you, I used to reach office only by about 1:30. So I had just woken up at that point in time, got this call, and they said, "Why don't you come for an interview? When can you come?" I said, "Where?" And I knew the office because I had already done an internship. It was about half an hour from my house. I said, "I can be there in an hour. So when do you want to meet?" So they said, "Come, we'll meet you." So I reached there, gave the interview. They said if you can wait for 15-20 minutes, half an hour. So I said, "I'll wait." So after half an hour, they came back with an offer letter. And I took that offer letter. I said, "Can I use your," and those were days when we didn't have laptops. We used to work on, desktops in office. So I said, "Can I use one of your computers?" They said, "Why?" So I said, "I need to type my resignation, so that when I go to office now, I will go and resign. And I will join from tomorrow. Is that okay?" They said, "Okay." So they said, "Okay, come." So that's what I did. I sat there in their office that point in time, which eventually became my office, wrote my resignation, and went back to Times of India and resigned. And the next day, I started my advertising journey, which was professionally one of the most fulfilling journeys. Did a lot of work. So I worked in advertising for almost 6-7 years. And I think in those 6-7 years, I did work probably that most people would do in about 12 years. Because there was no 9 to 5 or 9 to 7 kind of job. It was a 9 to 9 job. So you reached office at 9 in the morning, and that was fixed. What time you would leave office, there was nothing fixed. And most days, so if ever I reached home, अगर मैं किसी दिन घर पहुंच गया रात को 10 बजे, 11 बजे, so my mother would open the door, look at me, and then shut it. कि नहीं, I'm getting delusion. Because they were not used to seeing me come back at night. So one of those rare days when काम जल्दी खत्म हो गया, 10-11 बजे घर पहुंच गए, तो मम्मी दरवाजा वापस बंद कर देती कि नहीं कोई हो ही नहीं सकता है. So but in those 6-7 years, a lot of work happened, and thankfully during that time I worked on some of the best. I was blessed and lucky to work with some of the best brands in the country. And that, I think, gave me a lot of actual insight into what businesses are all about, and how big businesses are run by big corporations. And after having worked for 6-7 years, did fairly well there. Then there was that dreaded talk that happens in the house कि बेटा अब settled हो जाओ, शादी कर लो. I'm already settled. Because advertising is also the kind of industry where you also have a lot of fun. The party scene in advertising is probably second to maybe only the fashion industry or something like that. So we used to party practically every Wednesday was fixed because there used to be this place called TC, Turquoise Cottage. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the old one, not what there is currently. And they used to have media nights on Wednesday. So Wednesday night was fixed because media night meant 1+1. So that was fixed, and so was Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night. So all nights were fixed at TC, and so there was a lot of fun also. So I don't think I was ready to, to, like they say, like my parents were saying, get settled. But as they say, जो होता है अच्छे के लिए होता है. But by that time, I had also met somebody who I also had started thinking about, or we had started thinking about. I think we have a long-term possibility. तो वो चल रहा था, and वो सब चल रहा था. So that is when I realized कि and I had been in advertising for 6-7 years already by that time, and I had, one of the things I had seen a lot of was a lot of what do they say, broken marriages, in advertising, because they say that you are not married to your husband or your wife, you are married to your client, and you don't have an option there. So your first marriage is to your client, and your second marriage is to your spouse. So I had seen that, and I realized कि अगर करनी है शादी, वो settle होना है, तो advertising में रह के नहीं होगा. And so that's what I started thinking of, leaving the industry and doing something else. And that's when one of my clients, which was Citibank, and I'd been working on that client for many years. And so my eventual boss there, she called me and said, I'm looking for somebody. Why don't you come and join? So I said, okay, done. So I left advertising, started working for Citibank, worked there for about 3 years. Very, very good. From a job point of view, I think it was a great, job. Great company, very good portfolio. I used to, head marketing for their NBFC business in India. Had like almost 100 people reporting to me at a very young age, managing a budget for the company. For my marketing budget was upwards of 150 crores. So doing all that. So from a job point of view, it was great. Okay, and I kept doing that for almost 3 years. Got married, in the first year there, and now having worked there, so my transition had happened from working in a big, let's say, a big Lala company, if I may, call it, to a smallish setup, which was my advertising agency, which eventually grew into a very large, setup, to then like a multinational, kind of setup. So I'd done that entire, journey. And having done all that, that's when, and once you reach that 8-10 year mark in your life is when you start thinking of aage kya karna hai. And that's where one of the things that was happening with me was that because I was handling a very big, portfolio for the company, my interaction with the top management was practically on a daily basis, so I used to see them, and I used to see the people who were, heading the company and all that. And one thing that kept happening constantly, कि जब मैं उनको देखता था, तो उनकी जो जिंदगी थी ना, वो एकदम इंस्पिरेशनल नहीं थी. देखो, when you're working somewhere or when you're doing something, you look at the path कि आप कहाँ जा रहे हो, क्योंकि you look at कि next क्या होगा and उसके बाद क्या होगा. तो next जो होता है वहाँ पे कौन है, ठीक है. उसके बाद eventually you see, like in, when you're working in the corporate world, you eventually want to make MD or CEO and things like that. So I used to see the MD of my company and all that. Great guy, I have nothing wrong with him. But his life was it was not inspiring. When I say not inspiring, he was always under stress. He used to come to office. Well, every time I entered office, he was already there. Every time I was leaving office, he was still there. Okay. You see how much, stress CEOs and MDs are under. So I saw their life and I realized that that's not the life I eventually want. And he was like 25 years my senior or 30 years my senior. I said, मेरे को 20-25 साल घिस के वहाँ नहीं जाना है, because वहाँ जाके फायदा क्या है? And it was not as if he was earning crores. Okay, I'm sure he must have been at a 1 crore plus kind of package. But after working for 30 odd years, 40 years, always being under stress and that kind of lifestyle, it didn't seem inspiring. And that's when I really started thinking of what more can I do. And that's when this whole idea of, so how it is in the corporate world also. I mean, you have a set of these 2-3 friends with 2-3 colleagues जिनके साथ आप बहुत क्लोज होते हो, और टिपिकली वो चाय की टपरी पे बहुत सारे डिस्कशन होते हैं, बहुत सारे ऑफिस कुछ काम को छोड़ के बहुत सारे और डिस्कशन होते हैं लाइफ के, ठीक है, ये करेंगे वो करेंगे. सो हम लोग था, वी वर अ ग्रुप ऑफ 3-4 people who used to have a lot of these discussions over the chai ki tapri and all that. And that's when this whole thought of doing something beyond a job started coming to me. And as I said, jo hota hai अच्छे के लिए होता है. And that is exactly when a very good friend of mine who was based out of Bombay but had just moved to Delhi, who had been running a business already for more than 10 years with his brother at that point in time. He approached me, and he had moved to Delhi, and we had met a few times after he had moved to Delhi. And he approached me, and he said, he told me, yaar dekh, main apne na bhai se, we are separating. So he used to run a company with his brother, and he said कि हम लोग ना अलग हो रहे हैं, and I'm starting a new company, and I'm going to base myself out of Delhi, and I'm looking for a partner because I know very little, because he was a typical Bombay boy, Carter Road kind of boy, and he said Delhi के बारे में मेरे को नहीं मालूम है ज़्यादा कुछ, but I can't obviously stay in Bombay and do it because my brother is already running that business there and all that. So we eventually, as I said, जो होता है अच्छे के लिए होता है, we got together and we did a partnership, okay, and we started a company, okay. At that time we called it Live Events and Promotions Private Limited, okay. So took up a small office in this place called Okhla in Delhi, did our partnership deed, okay. I resigned from city and put in all my life savings at that point in time, because to start a company you need some money, okay. So while we were in the service space, but we still needed money. We had to set up an office, we had to hire a few people, we needed working capital for at least 6 months to a year, and we had to buy stuff in terms of computers and softwares and things like that. So वो करते करते I put in my life savings at that time, which was for knowing myself, I'm still surprised how I had that much saved, because I always followed the philosophy back then to what you earn to spend. So but still, somehow, by the grace of God, and somehow I think because of the wisdom of my father, he used to keep making me take out part of my income and give him. And he used to do all the the savings and the investments and all that. So I put in about almost 20 lakhs to start that business, okay. And then on 1st of November 2008, okay, is when we officially started that company. तो एक छोटा सा ऑफिस लिया था ओखला में. We had, so me, my partner, and we had 6 other employees we had hired, and एक ऑफिस वो छोटा सा रिबन काटा. So my wife and his wife, and for some quirk, both their names are also same. My ex-partner's wife and my wife, their names are also the same. So both of them cut the ribbon. We entered the office. Then his parents were there, my parents were there. पूरा एक पूजा वूजा हुआ, and we officially started the business. उससे पहले there was a lot of paperwork, partnership deed, setting up the company, memorandum of understanding, and all those things we went through. We had a CA, we had a lawyer. वो पूरा company set up किया, and we started and started working. And when I say started working like really hard. And that's when I realized, because see, my job at City, while it was very very good and big portfolio and all that, but City was City. You went to office at 9:30, you left office at 6:30, and BlackBerry was just coming in on those days, so it was still, once you left office, that was it, okay. So I when I started so it basically meant that when you left office, it was done. You are at home or whatever else that you're doing. Office is over. Office now starts at 9:30 the next day. In between that time, there is no work. or there cannot be any work. But when I started my business, it was very, very different because it was now a totally different ball game. You understand, the risk level had gone suddenly very, very high. Okay, while my wife was working, but I was the primary, while she was working, she never shared her income with me, so it was all for her in any case. So my income is her income. Her income is also her income. So, and I'm sure that's how it works, right? That's how it works, right? Is there any other way it works? No? That's how it works, right? So while she was earning, but I was the primary, breadwinner in the house. My father by that time had completely retired and was at home. He of course gets his pension. So, but still the house used to run on most of the house used to run on my income. Now suddenly I have given up a very, very decent income, which used to come every month, okay, without fail. Okay, on the 28th of the month, it would get credited into your account. Given that up, and now suddenly to a point where when and what income will get generated, I don't know. And whatever savings are there have already been put in. So the risk level now for me was suddenly very, very high. Okay, so which basically meant that this whole thing of leaving office at 6:30 and then forgetting and then restarting completely changed. Because when you're running your own business, it's a very different ball game. You understand kya hota hai. Okay. Now a lot of times when, let's say, when we are doing this business, QNET, when we are doing, and I'll tell you the same happened with me also. Okay. So a lot of times we are conditioned on what business is very differently. Okay. I have also gone through that same conditioning. मैंने भी जब अपना business start किया था तो we chose a name of the नाम choose करने में हमने 2 हफ्ते लगाए थे. Okay, अपनी कंपनी का नाम choose करने में 2 हफ्ते लगाए. उसके बाद फिर 2 हफ्ते लगाए, 2-3 हफ्ते लगे उसका logo बनाने में. फिर then it took like a month and a half to do the paperwork, with all the regulatory authorities and all that paperwork, register the company and all that. Then we did a full inauguration and ribbon cutting we did and full puja or whatever. Now I'm sure in different places you do different things, but we did like a full on, puja. Hired employees, every employee we hired, we probably interviewed like 10-12 people and jobs where we were paying like 15,000 a month. For even for the office boy, I interviewed people. Okay, now that's the kind of conditioning we have when we think of business, that all those things have to happen, and then only it becomes a business. And then I ran that business for about 2 years with very high stakes. Thankfully, we started doing well very, very early. Okay, and never had to really. So, and everybody had told us at that point in time that it was a bad time because the recession had just started. 2008 is when the subprime crisis hit the world. And that was the time the whole world was, going through what people were saying would be probably the biggest, financial crisis that the world would see. And that's the time we started out. But as I said, jo hota hai, achhe ke liye hota hai. Thankfully, we did very, very well in 2 years. We grew from scratch to about 18 crores of turnover. We went from that small office in Okhla to a much bigger office in a different location in Okhla, an office in in Bangalore, an office in Calcutta, an office in Bombay. We went from like 6 people to about 75 people, in 2 years. We had some of the best, we were working for some of the best clients in the country. So Dabur was one of our major clients, Maruti, Cisco, HCL, Bombay Dyeing, Hitachi, Make My Trip, Quest Diagnostics, and a lot more. For some of you who may be interested, we also launched Budweiser in India. We also launched Leffe, Hoegaarden, Stella Artois. So you understand, we had some interesting set of clients as well. See, suddenly some faces just got lit up. I can see, Dabur, Maruti wala nahi. Jesse wala Budweiser suddenly. I can see some suddenly now interesting business. Huh? So yeah, so some good set of good set of clients. So did fairly well. Okay, I actually moved from Delhi to Bombay after about a year and a half to set up the Bombay office, of my company. So I set up the office in Andheri West, took up a house in Lokhandwala, started working on. So we set up a full-fledged office in Bombay. So Bangalore and Calcutta was still operational offices for us, but between the two of us, me and my partner, we decided that the next big chunk of business would come from Bombay and Delhi, because we were already doing fairly well. So, and because he had moved from Bombay to Delhi, he could not go back to Bombay, and he didn't want to go back to Bombay. And so the choice was on me, and so I decided. And I had never lived out of my house, guys. All my life I've lived at home. All my life. Before that, I have never for a single day lived independently. Of course, you go on vacations and all that with your friends and all, but that's not living. I have never lived outside home independently. So that was the first time. So me and my wife, we shifted bag and baggage to Bombay, took up a decent apartment in Lokhandwala. This still remember the name of the building. It was 8th floor, Manju Towers, 5th cross, Lokhandwala Market. And very nice apartment, and took up an office in Andheri West, set up that office. And as we say, jo hota hai अच्छे के लिए होता है. Okay. Now the thing was that since I had never lived out of home, okay, Bombay was a fairly unfamiliar city. I had very few people I knew. Of course, I visited Bombay for work many times, but it was still a very unfamiliar city. I was like, Delhi is, I call home. Delhi is my city. हर गली हर वो मालूम है. Now I think one can't say that because Delhi has also changed a lot. But still, if you tell me कि यहाँ जाना है, I can find a way without Google Maps. Bombay, thankfully, by the time Google Maps had just started out. Okay, so we shifted bag and baggage. So we actually drove down. Me and my wife, we drove down from Delhi to Bombay over 2 days. Reached Bombay, and by the time we had already taken up the apartment, stuff had already reached and all that. And we set up shop there. And as I said, jo hota hai achhe ke liye hota hai. And because I knew very few people, in Bombay, one of the only people I knew very well, and who was also a friend, a very good friend and an ex-colleague of mine from Citibank, and who also eventually became my referrer, in this business, was the only real friend I had. In Bombay. And as I said, jo hota hai achhe ke liye hota hai. So 7th March 2010, I shifted to Bombay. Okay, settled over a couple of days, started the office, hired a few people, in Bombay, started working. And now, because one is in Bombay, one needs to also, find business, because office setup क्या है, कुछ धंधा आएगा तभी office chalega. And this whole move, you understand, it's a big move, it's a life move. Moving a city, bag and baggage with your family is a huge move. So which is why the stakes were very, very high for me when I moved to Bombay, because if it didn't work, okay, this whole move would become a tragedy for me in life, because it's घर बाहर बीवी सब लेके गाड़ी सब लेके आ गए थे already. अब यही था जो था. So one had to make it. So one of the things one had to do also was therefore quickly find some new business, in Bombay, so that because between me and my partner, we were very clear that the Delhi office would support the Bombay office for the first year only. Okay. After that, the Bombay office had to start doing profits. Okay. And that's how you do business, right? I'm saying we didn't just say कि चलो Bombay में office खोलते हैं. Okay. So that's how we have to, we moved, and we had to do that. So one of the things that I did as part of generating new business was talk to this friend of mine, because he was working with Citibank at that point in time, and he was a potential client. So I went and met him at his office, and as things go, I'll not tell you the story of how I got signed up, but within a month I was signed up in the business. And the only reason I signed up, really, guys, I'll tell you, is because the people I met were very, very interesting. Okay, so I met him. I met some of my uplines. Today, VP Dev, VP Sachin, AVP Sharfun. So some of those people I met, and they seemed like a lot of fun people, and they seemed to be doing something which they were enjoying, and yet having a lot of fun. Now, I had already been building my business for almost a year and a half, 2 years, and it was extremely stressful. Work was stress. Okay, and I realized that these guys suddenly are having, like, I saw them and I saw they're having a lot of fun, and at the same time they seem to be doing very, very well. Okay, because some of them were driving German cars, living in in Bandra, while I was living in Lokhandwala. So they seem to be doing very well, yet having a lot of fun. And that's when my referrer said, why don't you understand the business? And I said, okay. And I understood the business, and I didn't understand anything, to be honest. But I said, log achhe hain, theek hai, and they seem to be having a lot of fun. Let me start. So I started. Okay. And honestly, when I started QNET, I never thought of it as a real business. Now, how many of you have that same issue? For you, it is still not a real business. Okay. Because you understand how we start. I told you how I started my traditional business when I started. Okay, it took me a few months of planning. We did a lot of research, the kind of market it was at that point in time, what kind of clients we would specialize in, what kind of work we would specialize in. 4 हफ्ते तो नाम और लोगो में लगा दिए थे हमने. ठीक है, 4 हफ्ते सिर्फ नाम और लोगो डिसाइड करने में लगा दिए थे. फिर वो सब हुआ, पार्टनरशिप डीड, पेपर वर्क, ये सब. फिर उसके बाद inauguration, puja, hiring of people. Now that's how I started my traditional business, and it was a small business, guys, very small, and of course put in a lot of money, which at that time was a lot of money, but for a business is nothing. I put in 20-25 lakhs, which was, and my partner put in about the same amount of money, which to start a business is nothing, but still at that point in time was a big deal. So that's how I started my traditional business. Here, how did I start? I met my friend for under a tree. I'm not joking. Literally, for the first time when he spoke to me about the business, was under a tree, at the Citibank office in Bandra Kurla complex in Bombay, and that's when he told me. And then I went for the business meeting, okay, where I was shared the plan with in a very casual coffee shop called Candies, in Bandra, okay, where I met this person for the first time, now, whom we all know as AVP Sharfun. And she spoke to me about some stuff, just spoke. No presentation, okay, no paperwork, no documents, nothing, okay. And then because it was getting very late and we still had to do the financial plan, I was taken to somebody's house, okay, and to see the financial plan, because they were shutting the coffee shop down. So I saw the financial plan, okay, in somebody's house, in their bedroom, where in the living room outside there is a full blown party happening, full on. Okay, there are almost like 8-10 people. There's a little bit of music. Okay, there's a lot of mango juice that's happening. And while I'm going through the financial plan inside, my only interest is in the mango juice outside. I said कि ये खत्म होगा तो वो वहाँ जाते हैं. Now that's how I started the business. That's how most of you start the business, right? That's how all of you started the business. You met a friend of yours in a coffee shop and he shared something with you, and आपने बोला चलो ठीक है करके देखते हैं, कोई risk नहीं है. The money that I'm putting in, and a very, very small amount of money that I'm putting in, I'm buying a product in any case. So most of us, and including me, okay, like I told you, I had no reason to start the business. I was doing already very well in my traditional, business. I had no time. Financially, I was doing fairly well. I just moved to a new city. So there was no real reason for me to start the business. I think the only reason I started the business was because I said, I'll have some people to party with. That's it. I think. Okay, that was my real reason to start the business. If I think deeper, I think that was the only reason to start the business, because these people seem like always having fun. And that's how most of us start the business. Very, very casually. There is no big boardroom or conference room in which we are taken through presentations and all that. And which is why, because the business comes very easily to us. Okay, a lot of time, and I did that because the business came very easily to me. I didn't have to make any effort for it. So I didn't even think of it as a real business. And that's how I start, and that's how most of us start. Because it comes very easily to us, does it mean that it doesn't have value? Let's say today, okay, you are going to the market, okay, and you find a 2,000 rupee note and you pick it up. Okay, you see whose it is, there's nobody there, and you pick it up, now it's yours. You found, Lakshmi, money has come to you. Okay, does that 2,000 rupee note, just because you found it and not earned it, will buy you lesser stuff? It will still buy you exactly what 2,000 rupees can buy you. Yes or no? अलादीन को भी चिराग जमीन पे पड़ा हुआ मिला था. Yes or no? But उसको उठा के घिसना पड़ता है ना. So an opportunity can come from anywhere. When I was running my traditional business, there was only one single-minded focus. इस महीने का profit कैसे निकलेगा? Because of the way we started, the stick. Because अगर business नहीं चलता, तो भाई घर नहीं चलता. सिंपल था. तो वो असली बिजनेस था. ये चलो साइड में. And see, one of the things that also happens is when you start the business, somebody also tells you that this is something you can do on the side, part time. So, and मेरे को भी यही बोला था, this is something you can do on the side, you can do part time. So I didn't even start part time. When I started working spare time. कि कभी टाइम होता था तो चलो आज ट्राई करते हैं ये वाला बिजनेस. Because I didn't understand the largeness of this business. I didn't understand what I was doing, in my traditional business was, as we said, traditional. Okay, and the life of that could be very, very short. And while what I had gotten into by chance, the not real business, was something that was the future. वो मेरे को समझ में नहीं आया तब तक. Okay, thankfully eventually समझ में आया. But by that time I was not understanding that this is a real business. And that's what happens to a lot of us. We don't think of this as a real business because it comes very easily to us. There is nothing at risk. There is nothing at stake. We don't go through the normal tamjham of setting up a business, of forming a company, paperwork, all that. We don't do all of that to do this business. And which is why we never take it seriously. I didn't take it seriously for till the time जब मेरे को वो जब तक क्लिक नहीं हुआ ना, वो जो बोलते हैं ना, जब तक मेरे को चमका नहीं कि ये धंधा असली है, वो साला नकली है. जब तक वो चमका नहीं ना मेरे को, तब तक ये धंधा नहीं था. This was not like business. ये तो fun sake. Even when I earned a little bit of money in the beginning, from the business, it was like because pocket change. No, initially when you make your first check, second check, third check, it is still very small money compared to what businesses can deliver. And but what we don't realize is that opportunities can come from anywhere. Today the world is changing. The whole world, 10 years from now, it will be a very different world. Okay, 5 years from now, the jobs that will pay the maximum don't even exist today. Do you know that? Today, there are people who have become millionaires and are becoming millionaires. You ask a kid today, what do you want to be? Okay, I have two nephews, and I asked the younger one. He is about 10 now, and I asked him, what do you want to be? सोच रहे बच्चे हैं, मतलब आते हैं घर पे, तो उनसे पूछा कि भाई क्या करना चाहते हैं लाइफ में, सोचा तूने कभी? कह रहा चाचू, I want to be a YouTuber. हैं? YouTuber? That's a career? It is today. There are people, YouTubers who are millionaires, TikTokers who are millionaires, who have like black cat security walking with them. Okay, Instagrammers. आप सोचो कोई फोटो खींच के अपनी रोज can become a millionaire, can become an influencer in our lives. 5 years back, If somebody told you, I want to be a YouTuber, I will make my career as a YouTuber, what would you look at him and say? He's gone cuckoo. Yes or no? But that's how opportunities come. Okay, that's how you don't know where an opportunity will come from. What is tomorrow's trends? You cannot predict today. Some of the biggest brands today were not even there 10 years back. Look at Zoom, what we are using. Okay. The guy is in the top 10 billionaires list now. Eric Yuan, who founded Zoom. He started the company, 8 years back? 8 years back or 9 years back, max. He used to work for Cisco. Okay, and he used to run their WebEx platform. He went to his management with some ideas on how to make WebEx more user friendly and take it onto other platforms apart from just the laptop or the computer. And the Cisco's management rejected him. He left and started. And today, Zoom has become the biggest platform as you can all see. Okay, so ideas can come from anywhere, opportunities can come from anywhere. Okay, you have to just appreciate what you have. And first understand what you have. Okay, because change is something that is happening constantly. And we've seen that over the last 1 year also, especially we've seen. Okay, and when change happens, there are three kinds of people that exist. One, who become part of the change and make the change happen. Okay. Now, there is a change happening today all around us. So you decide which category, you want to be, and all of us need to be in which category. So there will be people who will be part of the change, who will make the change happen. Okay. Then there will be people who will watch the change happen. And we've had that experience in a lot of times in our life when we've seen so many big changes happening in our lives, when mobile telephony became big, when the internet revolution happened, now the online revolution that's happening. So we've seen, that. So we've watched those changes happening. Okay. So that's the second category of people. First category, who will make the change happen and will be part of the change. Second category, who will watch the change. And then there's the last category, who will say, what the fish happened. So you have to decide which category one wants to be, because change is constant. It will happen, come what may. Okay, because at the end of the day, what I found out, in my initial months of when I said कि जब मेरा वो चमका कि ये असली धंधा है, because when I started out, as I said, I was running a traditional business, doing well. And this didn't make any sense to me. When I said make any sense, from a business point of view, it didn't make any sense to me. कोई ऑफिस नहीं है, ठीक है, कोई एम्प्लॉय नहीं है, कैजुअली हम मिलते हैं कॉफी शॉप में, ठीक है, ऐसे ही लेट रात को बैठ के बकर में हम स्ट्रैटेजी डिस्कस कर रहे हैं बिजनेस की. तो इट डिडंट मेक एनी सेंस. ओके, प्लस एट दैट पॉइंट इन टाइम, अंडरस्टैंड, आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट 10 years back, there were a lot of question marks around the industry. There was a lot of question marks around the company and its credibility and all that. And I am the logical types, and so was my referrer. Okay, he's also extremely analytical and and all that. So the one good thing we did was that the both of us started on our own. Okay, started doing a lot of research. We had a lot of questions. Okay, so we used to go back to our uplines and ask those questions. And the one good thing about our uplines was they never answered our questions. Okay, so if your upline doesn't answer your question, be thankful. So our uplines never answered our questions. They always send us back and said, you find out and then come back and tell us what you found out. And we'll tell you whether that is correct or not. So we said, okay. And both of us, full intellectual, whatever. So we used to go back and we did we started reading up a lot. We started doing a lot of research, and he comes from like a IIM Ahmedabad kind of background. So he's somebody who's, fully, fully in it, So we did a lot of research, and that's when we started figuring out what this business was really all about. Okay. What are we really, doing here at the end of the day? Now you all understand today we are part of something called e-commerce, right? All of you know we are part of this industry called e-commerce. Okay. Now, what is e-commerce? Just go back a little bit. Go back like 40 years, 50 years, and all that. पहले सामान कैसे बिकता था? एक कोई बनाता था, ठीक है? फिर वो सामान इवेंचुअली एक दुकान में पहुंचता था. It used to reach a shop. Okay. We used to go out and buy that stuff. Okay. And earlier there were all kinds of shops. So कपड़े की दुकान अलग है, जूते की दुकान अलग है, खिलौनों की दुकान अलग है, किराने की दुकान अलग है. ऐसे ही होता था. Because you see, at that point in time, people largely were working in government jobs. People were still had a lot of time. So they used to go out and buy stuff. They could go visit 5 different shops and start buying different things that they needed. Okay. But then time started changing. There were, companies started coming, people started getting private jobs, time started getting limited. So then we had, from individual shops, we moved to, to supermarkets where there were a lot of things then available under one roof. Okay. From there we moved to malls where everything was available under, one roof, from anything you want to buy to anything your entertainment. So a trip to a mall became not just a shopping trip, but also entertainment and this and that, and everything was getting covered there. And then people started having even lesser time. And that's when the online revolution came about. That's when e-commerce started coming about. Because what does e-commerce do? At the end of the day, think about it. What is the aim of every manufacturer? What does every manufacturer want to do? Somebody, if let's say today you're a manufacturer, you make a product. Okay, what is it that you really want to do? At the end of the day, all you really want to do is to make sure that your product reaches your customer faster than anybody else's. Okay, and at the least cost. And the customer can get it at the lowest price possible. Right? That's what every manufacturer wants to do. Yes or no? Now imagine e-commerce. What does e-commerce do? The manufacturer puts the product online. Okay. Customer directly goes online, clicks, the product gets shipped through a courier company or a logistics company. There are today e-commerce companies that you order at 11 o'clock in the morning. Okay. By 1:30 in the afternoon, product is at your house. So e-commerce is eventually nothing else but a great way of distributing products. That's it. पहले किराने की दुकान, फिर सुपरमार्केट, फिर मॉल, अब ऑनलाइन. That's it. It's just a faster, better way of delivering or distributing products. There was franchising that was there earlier. People, if you had your brand to reach out to globally, if you had to expand your brand, you would get into franchising your brand. तो अपना brand setup करते थे. So let's say a Subway set up its brand. Now Subway जिसने set up किया, वो पूरी दुनिया जाना चाहता है. Vision है उसका, बड़ा है. He wants to go, but he doesn't have the means to reach out to and open like 10,000 stores in the world. So he starts franchising his brand. He gives the right to another person to use his brand and share the profit. Yes or no? That's another model. That it's a different distribution model again. Okay, so distribution is evolving constantly. Okay, because at the end of the day, all people want is all manufacturers want is how should I get my product faster and cheaper so that my profit is higher. Okay, as fast, as cheap as possible at the lowest price to my customer. That's where distribution comes in. That's where e-commerce becomes one of the best, if not the best platforms for distribution. Okay, and that's the space we are in, because see, all this technology is today playing a huge part. Technology will ensure that things keep moving, faster and faster. Earlier, this whole thing of e-commerce really started with, remember जब इन्हें किराना वाला सेट कि सर मैं आपके घर सामान भेज दूंगा. That was the seed of e-commerce. When you called the guy and the guy said free home delivery. So he hired 2 boys who would go on their cycle and deliver stuff. All you had to do was call. Now from there it has gone to a click of a button. Okay, so at the end of the day, technology will make sure that things will evolve, things will move faster and faster and faster, and things will change. Okay, now you want to be part of that change or not? Now imagine if 20 years back when Amazon started. Okay, what did they start as? They were an online bookstore. Right, now imagine if 20 years back when Amazon started and Jeff Bezos came to you and he said, hey guys, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get into this. You don't believe Jeff Bezos can come to you, right? And I said, Jeff, you guys know who Jeff Bezos is, right? The founder of this small company called Amazon. Okay. So now Jeff Bezos started by selling books online. Okay. But he had a vision. He said 20 years from now, Amazon will be a store that will have everything. Anything you want to buy, it will have everything. That was his vision back then. Now, I see a lot of you don't believe me. Now, after this PDT finishes, now go back. How many of you actually bought something from Amazon today, yesterday, day before yesterday? Okay. Now go back and check your packet that in which the stuff would have got delivered. Okay. Look at the Amazon logo. I don't know how many of you have noticed. You've seen the smile on the logo. Under the logo, there is a little arrow which looks like a smile. Now it has two purposes. One is to show that our customers are always happy. And B, if you see what the second purpose of that is, that arrow goes from A in the Amazon to the Z, the Z. That was his vision back then. That from A to Z, every product will be available on my website or my store. From A to Z. You see the arrow. Nobody have ever noticed this, right? Everybody is going to go after this PDT and check the Amazon logo. Suddenly, Amazon ki website per hits are going to go up. Some of you are even checking now. Okay, guys, relax. I'm not joking about this. I'm a marketing person. I'm a branding person. These things I notice. Okay. So that was his vision 20 years back. Now imagine 20 years back when he started out, he came to you, Jeff Bezos came to you and said, this is my vision. Okay, this is what Amazon is going to be. Okay, I want you to become a distributor of the company, of Amazon. So I would say, okay, what do you therefore want me to do? So he tells me that I will ensure that I take care of everything. Okay, I said everything means what? He said, I will do the research on the products, I will find the products, I will put them on the website, I will manage the technology, I will manage the backend, I will manage the payment gateway, I will manage the logistics, I will manage the delivery, I will manage the customer service. Everything I will manage. Okay. All I need you to do is to find and build a customer base for Amazon. So I say, okay, what is in it for me? So he tells me, ki you, for building that customer base, now whatever that customer buys, I will pay you 12 to 14% of whatever that customer buys. Rest of it is mine. Because I am doing everything in the backend. You don't have to worry about anything. Okay, you don't have to worry about how the product will get delivered to him. Now the problem is, अब हमारा ना conditioning अभी भी बोल देगा कि but product कैसे deliver होगा? Because हमको तो आदत है ना, वो we will go कि भाई ये product मैंने लिया, ये सर आपका product मिल गया, तब product delivery होती है. वो conditioning will tell me, मोहित but product देखो तो जाके प्रोडक्ट उठा के जब तक कस्टमर घर पे डिलीवर नहीं करेगा तब तक कैसे होगा? साइकिल रखनी पड़ेगी, एक लड़का भी रखना पड़ेगा. बट जेफ बेजोस सेइंग नहीं, नॉट रिक्वायर्ड. आई विल टेक केयर ऑफ ऑल दैट. I will take care of everything. All you have to focus on is to generate a customer base. Now, how to generate that customer base? He said that also I will train you on. You don't have to worry. I will give you everything that you need. How to acquire customers, how to retain them, how to train them, how to make them distributors, how to increase this customer base, how to multiply this customer base, how to retain this customer base. वो सब also I will give you the training. So you don't have to worry about how to also generate the customer base. You don't worry. I will. All you need to do is become a distributor, follow my processes, okay, follow my trainings, okay, and generate the customer base. And whatever that customer buys, not just today, for the rest of his life, जो भी खरीदेगा वो, उसका 12 से 14% मैं आपको दूंगा. अगर 20 साल पहले जेफ बेजोस आपके पास आया होता और उसने आपको ये बोला होता तो क्या बोलते हैं? मेरे पास आया होता, मैं बोलता चल कट ले. बिकॉज आवर कंडीशनिंग, बिजनेस थोड़ा है ये. बिजनेस के लिए तो दुकान खोलनी पड़ेगी, बोर्ड लगाना पड़ेगा, ठीक है, सामान डिलीवर करने के लिए लड़के रखने पड़ेंगे. दैट्स द कंडीशनिंग विद विच वी कम. बट इजंट दिस अ बिजनेस? Today, what are you generating? What are we generating? A customer base, right? Now, what is the biggest asset for any company? It's customer base. Because that customer base, see, employees can come and go. A lot of times they keep, companies saying our biggest asset is our people, our biggest asset is our people. It's people, not the employees, the customers. Because employees can come and go. Customer base, but if you have, then imagine the kind of things that can happen. Today, there are companies, profitable companies, that are buying out companies which are non-profit, which are not making profits. You heard Vodafone bought out Idea in India. Why did they buy Idea? They needed the towers or what? Idea was not making money. Vodafone was. So Vodafone said, if let's say Idea has a customer base of 50 million people in India or whatever, I don't know what their customer base was, I will buy out Idea. Now when I buy out Idea, it also becomes my customer base. I have the money and the products to service that customer base. So suddenly, they will double their customer base. Have you seen this happen a lot of times? Okay, companies which are making a lot of profit, buying out companies, do you think वो क्या rhythm कर रहे हैं क्या? कि चल आ जाओ हम, we will bail you out. ऐसा हो रहा है क्या? Customer base, because that's the biggest asset. And what are we doing here? We're doing exactly the same. That's the opportunity we have today. Recognize guys कि real business क्या होता है? If you have a customer base, no, you can, on that customer base, you can do multiple businesses, you know that. There are people who just own customer bases. You've all been through this whole, why did Facebook acquire WhatsApp? You all going through that challenge. I've already started seeing messages, guys, this is my last message on WhatsApp, I'm moving to Telegram and all that because of what? Privacy issues. Why do you think Facebook acquired WhatsApp? WhatsApp was a non-profit making organization. It was free, right? You didn't pay money even today to WhatsApp. Has anybody ever paid any money to WhatsApp? But how many people in the world are on WhatsApp? Now, what did Facebook want? Facebook wanted that entire customer base. Now, what you do, eat, drink, not do, everything Facebook knows because they have WhatsApp. Because your WhatsApp is always on, right? So we are all having privacy concerns now. But that's the game. At the end of the day, we are all customers in some form or the other for somebody or the other. And people who have a customer base have the biggest opportunity in the world. And that's the opportunity we have. We have the opportunity of creating a customer base. So the company says, ये जो customer base है, so Jeff Bezos said कि ये जो customer base आप बनाओगे, ये मेरा है और आपका है. The ownership is joint. So whatever this customer, I will keep getting products, A to Z, remember? So he said, I will get products from A to Z. These customers will buy. And every time they buy, 12 to 14% I will share with you. Now that's the opportunity we have. And understand, our only focus has to be customer acquisition. Rest, everything, Jeff Bezos is doing for us. Right? And the same is happening here. Exactly that is happening here also. So tomorrow we will also, tomorrow we will also be, now the only thing that happened was that instead of Jeff Bezos, a friend came to you and shared with you exactly this opportunity, what I just described. Instead of Amazon, a friend came to you and said QNET. QNET for you was new. So you said, let me think about it. I did the same. When I say I did the same, I thought about it before I even went for the plan. But I didn't sign up, as I said, for the business. I don't know how many of you signed up for the business, but I did not. So which is that there was not much to think about. So many prospects come and say, let me think about it. अरे what? क्या सोचोगे भाई? ऐसी अपॉर्चुनिटी, ऐसा मेरे को बता दो, ऐसा खतरनाक धंधा कहाँ मिलेगा आपको? कि somebody tells you, I will give you world class product. मतलब मैंने स्टार्ट किया था. The product line today that is there is 10 times of what the products were when I started. 10 साल में 10 गुना हो गया. अगले 5 साल में 50 गुना हो जाएगा. Because that's the vision of the company that we are working with also. Okay, I'm not joking. When I started out 10 years back versus what the product portfolio is now, it's 10 times what it was back then. Probably more. Okay, what is happening today for us also, the good thing that's also happening for us, we already have a very large customer base in the world. 20 plus million customers, right? That's the customer base we have. Now, what it also does, it also becomes a very, very attractive proposition for a lot of other brands to come. Remember, kya hota hai? I told you, somebody who owns a customer base can then use that customer base for not just one, but multiple products and services. So today, companies are coming to us and saying, we want to tap into your customer base. So some of you who are in India who already know we have a tie-up with Shah, we have a tie-up with Kent, and that is going to become even bigger in the future. Now imagine if tomorrow there are 100 brands that are tied up with us and are providing products that are exclusive to us. Because we already always have products that are exclusive, right? Imagine that. ऐसा खतरनाक धंधा आपको मिल सकता है कहीं कि बैकएंड का आपको कुछ नहीं सोचना है. प्रोडक्ट मैन्युफैक्चरिंग, रिसर्च, लॉजिस्टिक्स, कस्टमर केयर, पे आउट्स, टेक्नोलॉजी, कस्टमर सर्विस, सब जेफ बेजोस करने वाला है आपके लिए. ठीक है, आपको सिर्फ कस्टमर्स अक्वायर करने हैं. दैट्स योर रोल एज अ डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर. कैसे करना है उसके लिए भी आपको जेफ बेजोस ट्रेन करने वाला है. ठीक है, एंड यू कैन डू दिस एट अ ग्लोबल स्केल. यू आर नॉट रिस्ट्रिक्टेड टू वन सिटी, यू आर नॉट रिस्ट्रिक्टेड टू वन कंट्री. You have 130 countries in which you can build this customer base. Now imagine if 5 years down the line you have built a customer base of even 10,000 people, just 10,000 people. Possible or not? First tell me. You've all seen the business plan and you've seen that kind of and far bigger. When you see our uplines, they have customer bases in excess of 50,000, 100,000 people today. Now imagine one product comes, one new product tomorrow. Okay, and out of let's say those 50,000 customers, okay, 10% go and buy. उतने तो खरीदेंगे. एक कोई नया प्रोडक्ट आया और उसकी वैल्यू लेट्स से कितना, 1000 रुपए. 5,000 people go buy that one product worth 1,000 rupees. कितने का टर्नओवर हो गया? 50 lakhs, right? Just because the company brought one new product worth 1,000 rupees. 50 lakhs का टर्नओवर हो गया. What is your profit? 12 to 14%. 6 to 7 lakhs. And what were you doing at that time? You were on a holiday in Goa. You didn't even know the company launched this product. And you and me were together on a holiday in Goa, having those little glasses of juice with those little umbrellas. And then in the night, we went back, opened our app, and saw, 7 lakhs have come. Interesting. Tomorrow, 2 more umbrellas. Can you imagine the power of what you are here to build? ऐसा खतरनाक धंधा आपको मिल सकता है कहीं पे, बट बोर्ड नहीं है भाई साहब. बोर्ड नहीं लगा है बाहर, ऑफिस नहीं है, एम्प्लॉय नहीं है, पेपर वर्क नहीं है, तो धंधा नहीं है. कनेक्शन में प्रॉब्लम नहीं था. I was speechless. Can you imagine, even today, after having done this for 10 years, after having understood the bigness of what this is, when I talk about it, no, I still get goosebumps, because I know where this is going. 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, 15 years down the line, what is going to happen. But it is my input today that will decide where this will go. It is my input today. How I treat this business. First, how I see it. Something that I am doing on the side to earn 1 check, 2 checks, 3 checks. Or is my vision 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now? Do I even understand that this is a business first? कि भाई धंधा है और बड़ा धंधा है. Do I even understand that? First, how I see the business. Second, what I then do to it. Understand, guys? And this is something I realized when I was running my traditional business also. Business businessman को नहीं बनाता है. Businessman business को बनाता है. The industry doesn't make the entrepreneur. The entrepreneur makes the industry. वरना हर इंडस्ट्री में सक्सेस और फेलियर नहीं होते. हर इंडस्ट्री में सक्सेस और फेलियर है ना. क्यों? Because it's not the industry, it's not the business that creates the businessman. It's the businessman that creates the business. And that's the same for all of us also. So your input will decide what this will be for you. Same bat, same ball, same 6 wicket. आप गली में भी खेल सकते हो, आप IPL या PSL में भी खेल सकते हो और वर्ल्ड कप में भी खेल सकते हो. सेम बैट, सेम बॉल. द नेम इज ऑल्सो द सेम. इट्स कॉल्ड क्रिकेट. बट हाउ यू प्ले द गेम, what you put behind it is where the potential of the business will come to you. What is my input? How do I give my input, to the business is what my output will be a function of my input, right? Okay. And a lot of times when we come in, as I said, we judge. Okay. First thing is you need to put, all of us, even myself, we need to put our judgments aside. Okay. There are processes, there are practices that are in place. Okay. If you come in and you start judging them and you start using your past conditioning and don't allow the change to happen to you. See, at the end of the day, remember in the beginning, Tanvi spoke about something called trespass. Okay, let me give you an example and make you understand why it is important, this trespass. Okay, all of us come with a certain conditioning. Like I told you, when I started working on this business, I came in with a certain conditioning. Business क्या होता है, धंधा क्या होता है, there was a certain conditioning that was already there. I came from having done a business. A lot of us here are people who've not ever done a business, and this is the first business venture that we have started. For me, it was my second. Okay. So there was already a lot of conditioning. Even if you've not done a business, there's still then there's a different kind of conditioning, because you've seen people do business. You've not done it yourself, but you've seen people do business, and you have a certain perception in mind, a certain conditioning, which doesn't then allow you to look at this business, you start judging it. You start judging the processes. A lot of us come from corporate backgrounds. अब corporate background में क्या होता है कि a lot of serious discussions would happen in conference rooms and all that. But भाई धंधा ना conference room में नहीं होता है. मैंने भी 10 साल काम किया है corporate में. One thing I realized, धंधा conference room में नहीं होता है, धंधा चाय की टपरी पे होता है. Yes or no? How many of you agree? The real business happens on the chai ki tapri when two guys, I want you to do something, you want me to do something, we go down for a cup of tea, and that's where we close the deal, not in conference rooms. Some of the biggest deals in the world have closed over a handshake, not a written agreement. That's a separate topic altogether, so we'll not get there. But that's the conditioning we come with. Okay, and therefore when we come with that conditioning, then we don't allow the system, the processes here, the uplines here, all the stuff that's being passed on to you through experience of people who've created success. Okay, you don't let that come to you because you don't allow it, because the trespass is not there. What is now? Let's say today after this, you have a neighbor who comes over to your house for a cup of tea. It's especially in Delhi, if you are, it's very cold, so a hot cup of tea or coffee is very, very preferable. So let's say after this PDT, you have a neighbor who comes over, okay, and comes over for a cup of tea, and you guys are having a cup of tea, and there's somebody who, your neighbor whom you've known for some time, and वो आता है, ठीक है, और वो बोलता है कि यार ये जो तेरा ये वाला सेंटर टेबल है ना, ये ठीक नहीं है, इसको ना इसका जो ऊपर वाला ग्लास है ना, उसको चेंज करके स्टोन लगवा दे, और आई थिंक यहाँ पे नहीं, वो वहां पे प्लेस होना चाहिए. क्या बोलोगे आप उसको? सर बोलोगे भाई चाय खत्म कर अपनी और जा यार. आप बोलोगे अरे सुन ना, मेरा एक 1 o'clock ना है वो मीटिंग, तो मिलते हैं ना, फिर जल्दी मिलते हैं. भेज दोगे ना आप उसको? ठीक है. Versus let's say now you decide कि you want to redo your house a little bit, okay, and you hire an interior designer, okay, and the interior designer comes. You appoint, an interior designer. You hire and you appoint an interior designer, and and you say कि this is what I want to change the house a little bit. So the interior designer comes and says, okay, I think we don't need this table, we want to move this here. And would you listen to that guy or not? Because you allowed him to come and shift that furniture. You gave that trespass for him to come into your house and help you shift your furniture. You didn't allow your neighbor to do it. The same thing you have to do here. Okay, that's what the role your upline and the system will play for you. Only if you allow them to shift your furniture. Okay, so today when you do the business, first thing, allow the trespass for somebody to come in, because we come with conditioning. Okay, there's nothing wrong in it. That's life. I mean, having years of conditioning is nothing. There is nothing wrong in it. Okay, there is life at the end of the day, which is why we need to constantly, empty our cup and be a seeker. So the moment you allow trespass, then what you are seeking, you will get also. There's a very old saying by Rumi, what you seek is also seeking you. Okay. So the fact that you are here today is because you're seeking. The fact that you're part of this business today is because you were seeking something. Now how it happened, don't worry about that. वो उस पे छोड़ दो. वो कैसे करता है उसके रास्ता समझने की जरूरत नहीं. कहाँ लेके गया वो समझो. The fact that all of us are here today is for a reason. Otherwise, why would all of us get together? Most of us would not know each other, right? But we are all here together. But the fact that we are here, first recognize that. Okay, allow somebody to come into your house and shift your furniture. Okay. Start emptying your cup every day. Allow that person to also help you empty your cup. So that conditioning will not go away like this. It will not suddenly go away. Okay, it takes time. It's a process. Okay, it will take time. So, but let that process work with you. Let that process play out. Okay, and then as the conditioning changes, first thing is, have you realized what you're part of today? How big an opportunity you have sitting with you. First thing, मतलब समझ रहे हो कि नहीं समझ रहे हो? मैं I can go on. I think we're already we are ahead of more than we've already crossed the time. But I want to go on a little bit for another 7 minutes, because I want you to understand. I want you to see what some of us have been able to see, the bigness of what this is. भाई असली धंधा है अगर आप उसको असली धंधे की तरह देखोगे और करोगे. Like Divakar said, a couple of weeks back when he went to AVP Sharfun's house and said कि ये लोग भी वही धंधा कर रहे हैं क्या जो हम लोग कर रहे हैं. भाई वही धंधा है, exactly the same. प्रोडक्ट बिकता है, कस्टमर बनता है, 12 से 14% आपको भी आता है, एवीपी शरफुन को भी 12 से 14% जाता है, वीपी सचिन को भी 12 से 14% जाता है, वीपी देव को भी जाता है. सेम धंधा है, सेम. दे वर स्मार्ट इनफ टू रिकॉग्नाइज कि भाई तोड़ू धंधा है, खतरनाक, पागलपन, लाइफ चेंजिंग, फ्यूचर प्रूफ. E-commerce, future. Customer base, biggest asset. E-commerce, let me correct myself. E-commerce, present and future. Customer base, biggest asset any business can have. What we have? Combination. खतरनाक है कि नहीं है? Are you guys getting it or not getting it? Now, all you need to do, some of those tips that I gave you, allow somebody to come into your house, shift your furniture. For that, your communication with your upline has to be extremely tight. Now, that's a whole topic in itself, and I'm not going to get into that. But basically, communication means talk. The more you talk with your upline, the better. The more you talk, the better. Don't always talk with an agenda. Have a lot of non-agenda chats. As I said, a lot of our business actually happened after midnight. That's where we grew. That's where you grow, in informal association, in informal chats. So, but that communication has to be very, very high. So when you communicate, it also helps you keep emptying your cup on a regular basis. Otherwise, आप 4 दिन अपलाइन से बात नहीं करोगे ना, you see how your cup fills up. Suddenly there are all kinds of thoughts coming in your mind. Okay, and that's when you forget what you're part of. You forget what you've got. Don't make that mistake. Okay, it's a big business. You are lucky. Each one of us is lucky to be part of this. हमने जिंदगी में कुछ अच्छे कर्म करे थे, इसीलिए आज हम यहाँ पे हैं. बहुत सारे लोगों ने करे थे जो आए, बट नहीं समझा उनको कि ये कितना खतरनाक है और चले गए. अगर आज आपको ये समझ गया है, okay, I'll tell you one of the other things that also happens. A lot of times when we start the business, हम start तो कर देते हैं, okay, then we get second thoughts कि यार मैंने कहाँ हाथ डाल दिया, मेरा कट गया क्या, मेरा उल्लू बन गया शायद. ओह, एंड हम उस थॉट से फिर बोलते हैं यार चलो आ गए हैं तो थोड़े हाथ पैर तो मारते हैं. How many still have that thought कि मेरा कट गया यार, चलो कट ही गया तो चलो करके देखते हैं थोड़ा. What's the biggest repercussion, और ये जो थॉट है इसका सबसे बड़ा रिएक्शन क्या होता है हमारा? बिकॉज वी बिलीव कि हमारा कट गया है या हमारा बन गया है. ठीक है, आई होप दैट हैज चेंज टुडे फॉर सम ऑफ यू हु रेज्ड योर हैंड, हु बिलीव्ड कि कट गया है. आई होप यू अंडरस्टैंड टुडे कि कटा नहीं है. यहां से आप जो काट सकते हो ना अपनी लाइफ के लिए रास्ता, वो अलग है. आई होप some who came in with that thought that has changed a little bit. Okay, now because we do the business with that thought a lot of times, okay, then uska the biggest result of that is a lot of times we don't even approach people, okay, who are doing better than us, because हमको लगता है यार मेरा कट गया, मैं उसके सामने कैसे उसको बोलूं. Are you getting what I am saying? So we only try and approach people जिनका हमको लगता है कि जिसका ना इसका मैं भी काट सकता हूं. But if today for you it has clicked that I am part of something really really big and I am going to create something really really big, अगर वो click हुआ आज, okay, if that has clicked to you, then understand something. Somebody who's even a little bit more successful than you in whatever you do or life, if a little bit more successful than you, आपको नहीं लगता उसको भी ये जल्दी क्लिक होगा आपसे थोड़ा? अगर आज मेरे को क्लिक हो गया कि हाँ यार साला धंधा खतरनाक है, तोड़ूंगा एकदम, जिंदगी बदल लूंगा मैं अपनी इससे, अगर ये मेरे को आज क्लिक हो गया, पूरी all those things that we discussed, don't you think if I approach somebody who's a little more successful than me, उसको मेरे से जल्दी क्लिक होगा? अगर मेरे को 3 महीने लगे क्लिक होने में, तो शायद उसको 2 महीने में क्लिक हो जाए, या 1 महीने में क्लिक हो जाए, या इंस्टेंटली क्लिक हो जाए. डोंट यू थिंक? नाउ if we start doing that, imagine people who come in with that click, साला तोड़ूंगा धंधा, काम करने में भी मजा आएगा ना कि नहीं? Yes or no? Because after this, either you can go back with that thing कि साला समझा मेरे को, जो इतने दिन से नहीं समझा था समझ गया, तोड़ो है, and you will change. Or you can go back today after and say अरे क्या तोड़ो सिस्टम है यार, मजा आ गया, full impressed. I am not here to impress you. I am not a trainer. Okay, I have just shared my journey and my experience with you. So if today something has clicked, you know what you need to do? Today, make a list of at least 10 people who are more successful than you. I'm sure each one has more, but make a list of 10 people who are more successful than you. Call all of them, because you know today what you are doing. Info drop karo. Tell them about what you are doing. Okay. And then in this week, do at least 5 plans with these people. Out of this, 3 days later, invite them. And by Friday, make sure you do 5 plans with people who are a little more successful than you. Because if this has clicked, don't you think it will click to them also? And then imagine the kind of trainings we have, the kind of processes we have. Today, the entire business is happening on a laptop. All you need is a laptop. It's global. 130 countries, 130 countries. All we need to do is focus on acquiring customers, stroke distributors. Everything else, somebody else is taking care for us. And to help us acquire customers, there are brilliant trainings, processes, grooming school चल रहा है. हर संडे एक तोड़ू आके कोई ना कोई ट्रेनिंग करता है. वी सेल हो रहे हैं, ठीक है. C3 calls are happening. There's so much that's happening which helps you acquire. How to do that is taken care of. Nothing else you have to worry about. And you can do this globally. Tomorrow you can have a market in Timbuktu, wherever that is. Or Tumbuktik. ऐसा खतरनाक धंधा साला कहीं मिलेगा क्या? मेरे को बता दो. You tell me one business you know of that can match this. One business. And for that, what do you have to put in? Buy one product. जेफ बेजोस सेड, मेरी 2-3 किताब खरीदो, ठीक है, साथ में मैं तुमको डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर बना दूंगा, ट्रेन करूंगा, ग्लोबल राइट्स दूंगा, सारा बैकएंड में मैनेज करूंगा और 12 से 14 टका भी दूंगा तुम्हारे कस्टमर के लाइफ टाइम ऑफ परचेजेस का. क्या बोलोगे? वाह उस्ताद वाह. So guys, if this made sense, okay, if this made sense, if you discovered today that you are part of something todu, khatarnak, then make that list, call people who will also understand it faster. 10 people who are more successful than you. Call them, drop the info, and do it now. Because now, if it has made sense to you now, शाम तक में बहुत सारी चीजें कम होती जाएंगी. Don't make that mistake. Do it now. Drop the info this week. Do 5 plans with people like this. I promise you, 2021 will truly be the year that you are wanting it to be for you. Because game ऐसे चेंज होता है. खेलने वाले पे डिपेंड करता है, गेम पे नहीं डिपेंड करता है. तो guys, I hope we are all doing the same business, the same todu, khatarnak, so business that we are all part of. Okay, I think we've taken up we've gone a little over time, but I thought I had to share with you whatever I have experienced over the last 10 years and the bigness of what this is and what this is going to be. How you play the game will decide. How you see the business will decide. Okay, what is your input will decide. So guys, make that small decision today. Make that big difference in your life tomorrow. Take that small action today, calling those 10 people. See the big change happening in your life tomorrow. It's sometimes the small things that are more important. The big things take care of themselves. So thank you so much, guys. Love you all. We'll see you soon. And welcome to the big business. And guys, I heard this something. I want to end with something I heard from my, somebody I really look up to, are applying to all of us, VP Dev. He used to go on stage. Okay, not actually, I don't know, I think I've seen him do on stage or not, but I've seen him do this a lot of times at his house. He used to go and he used to do this thing and say, I'm a money-making machine. I'm a money-making machine, because he knows what this is. So guys, we are all money-making machines because we have this big global business with us. So go out, guys, make a lot of money, create a huge customer base, create a huge asset, okay? Change your life and change the lives of a lot of people around you. Okay? Thank you so much. Love you all. We'll see you soon.